What is disability? The United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, or the CRPD, started the official shift from the way disability was recognised internationally, changing the way we view and address disability from something called the medical model to what we now use, the social model. According to the medical model of disability, disability is a health condition dealt with by medical professionals. Disability is seen to be a problem of the individual. From the medical model, a person with the disability is in need of being fixed or cured. From this point of view, disability is a tragedy and people with disability are to be pitied. But let's move away from this old school view of what disability is. We are not living in the 19th century. Nowadays, we use the social model of disability. According to the social model of disability, disability is socially constructed. Disability is the result of the interaction between people living with impairments, which is a medical condition, and the environment filled with physical, attitudinal, communication, and social barriers. It therefore carries the implication that the physical, attitudinal, communication, and social environment must change to enable people living with impairments to participate in society on an equal basis with others. The Disability Convention states that persons with disabilities include those who have a long-term physical, mental, intellectual, or sensory impairments, which in interaction with various barriers may hinder their full and effective participation in society on an equal basis with others. Here is an example of an interaction between impairment and the physical barrier. Zoe is paralysed from the waist down. This is her impairment. She uses a wheelchair for accessibility. It is not the inability to walk that keeps Zoe from entering a building with stairs. It is the physical barrier and the lack of accessible options such as a ramp. In this situation, Zoe is disabled through physical barriers. Physical barriers are beaten down when we provide accessible options. What about attitudinal barriers? Lily has schizophrenia. This is her impairment. It is not her mental illness that prevents her from gaining meaningful employment in a field that she is trained. It is the attitudinal barrier and negative stereotyping linked with her impairment. In this situation, Lily is disabled through attitudinal barriers. Attitudinal barriers are beaten down when we ignore stereotypes, don't stigmatize people, and stop discriminating. What about communication barriers? Dina is hearing impaired. It is not her hearing impairment that keeps Dina from understanding the video shown in class. It is communication barriers and the lack of captioning. In this situation, Dina is disabled through communication barriers. Communication barriers are beaten down when we provide accessible options and society considers the different ways of communication. These are just examples of how disability is socially constructed and the barriers that disable people with impairments. I recognise myself as a young woman with a disability because society has placed barriers on me due to my neurological and mental impairments. They are socially constructed barriers, and society needs to work towards dismantling these.